When I was looking for my late wife's necklace, the only thing I had left of her, my daughter coldly announced, "The necklace is already sold." She needed the cash for a vacation. Outraged by her betrayal, I called the pawn shop to retrieve it. They said, "Sir, you won't believe what we found when we opened the locket on the pendant." This secret revealed the truth about my family. Before I continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are. I stood in my bedroom, staring at the empty velvet box, my hands trembling over the open drawer. The box was there like an accusation, its cream satin interior holding nothing but the ghost of what should have been there: Eleanor's necklace. The gold chain with the heart-shaped locket she had worn every day for 40 years was gone. Downstairs, Jennifer's voice cut through the morning air. "Sharp. Orders about breakfast." Robert's laugh boomed from the living room. A sports commentator yelled in the background. Mary's phone conversation drifted up the stairs. Complaints about being stuck there, how boring Phoenix was, and wanting to go back to California already. Today was Eleanor's birthday, 3 years since her passing, and I had planned to spend the morning alone with that necklace, the one memory of her that still held some of her warmth. Instead, I was facing this empty box and the chaos of my family treating my home like a motel. I yanked the drawer all the way open and tossed the socks onto the bed. Nothing. I knelt and checked under the dresser. Dust and an old receipt. A lump formed in my throat. I moved to the closet, patting coat pockets and checking shoe boxes on the shelf. My breathing quickened. The bathroom was next. I slammed open the medicine cabinet and pulled out the drawers under the sink. Cotton swabs scattered on the tile floor. Where was it? Where was it? I checked impossible places. The nightstand drawer, which I'd already checked twice. Behind the headboard, under the mattress. My hands were shaking harder now. That constant tremor of panic I hadn't felt since the hospital. Since those final hours with Eleanor, when nothing I did could stop what was coming. 42 years of marriage. And that necklace was all I had kept. Her clothes donated, her books given to the library, her gardening tools rusting in the shed because I couldn't bear to use them. But the necklace, that I kept in its box, safe, untouched, except for days like today, when I needed to remember her face. I walked downstairs, each step deliberate. In the living room, Robert was sprawled on my sofa, his feet on the armrest and a bag of potato chips on his chest. He didn't look up. I dodged Mary's shopping bags piled near the stairs and rounded the coffee table she had moved. Jennifer stood by this kitchen counter, phone in one hand and a knife in the other, chopping vegetables with an almost aggressive precision. "Thump, thump, thump. Jennifer," I said. "Have you seen it?" "I'm busy, Dad." She didn't look up. "It's important." "Eleanor's necklace is. Check your room. You probably just forgot where you put it." The knife kept hitting the cutting board. Thump, thump. "I checked my room," I said, struggling to stay calm. "I checked everywhere. The necklace is gone." She sighed. That particular sigh she had perfected over the last 3 years since they moved in. The one that said I was a nuisance, a burden she had graciously agreed to carry. "Nobody wants your old things, Dad." They were Mother's. A lump tightened in my throat. "The only thing I kept." "Then you should have been more careful." I stood there, watching her cut the celery into small, violent pieces, and something in my chest chilled. It wasn't hot anger, but cold, like the temperature drop before a storm. "Jennifer, please." I forced the words out quietly. "I need to know what happened to it." She finally stopped, put the knife down, turned to face me, and her eyes held no warmth. I hadn't felt it in years, but I had been fooling myself, hadn't I? Telling myself she was still my daughter, Eleanor's daughter, the little girl who used to bring us dandelions from the yard. "Fine," she said. "I pawned it. At a pawn shop out in Phoenix." At first, the words didn't make sense. I pawned it. My daughter sold Eleanor's necklace. What? We needed $800 for Hawaii. You said no when I asked, so I found another way. Her voice held no apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. She picked up the knife and started chopping again. From the living room, Robert's voice drifted in, lazy and satisfied. "It was just sitting there, Wilbur. Eleanor is gone. The dead don't need jewelry." He didn't even sit up to say it. His eyes stayed on the television, scratching his stomach and taking another handful of potato chips. The casualness of his statement made it worse than if he had been angry and confrontational. It was obvious to him. Of course, they had sold it. Why wouldn't they? On the stairs, Mary laughed. That empty, bright laugh of someone who finds genuine pain amusing. "Grandpa, you're overreacting. It's just a necklace. Mom got us an amazing vacation." I looked at her. I stared at her. 23 years old, Eleanor's granddaughter, and she had the same empty look as her mother. When had that happened? Or was I just refusing to see it? "Your grandmother wore that every single day for 40 years, I said quietly. Mary shrugged, looked away, and went back to her phone call. "Well, it's somebody else's turn now. The circle of life, or whatever." I stayed in the kitchen. I sat in the kitchen of the house Eleanor and I bought in 1985, the house we had filled with 42 years of memories. And I looked at those three people, my daughter, her husband, and their daughter. They looked back with the expression of those waiting for an inconvenience to disappear on its own. I turned and went to my room, closing the door with a soft click and sitting on the edge of the bed. The empty velvet box was still on the dresser where I had left it. I picked it up, opened it, closed it, opened it again, closed it. The mechanical motion soothed me a little. Or maybe it wasn't calm. Maybe it was something else entirely. My hands had stopped shaking. I sat there for a long time. The box rested on my knees, and I felt something shift inside my chest, without breaking. I had broken 3 years ago when Eleanor died. This was different. It was a stillness, a hardening, a clarity I hadn't possessed just an hour ago. They had sold Eleanor's necklace to go on vacation. Jennifer had gone into my room, into my drawer, taken the one thing I treasured, and exchanged it for cash. And Robert and Mary saw nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing. I stood up, placed the box carefully on the dresser, and picked up my phone from the nightstand. I kept my hand steady as I opened the browser and typed "pawn shops in Phoenix." My fingers slid across the screen, running down the list of pawn shops scattered across Phoenix. The empty velvet box lay beside me on the bed, a small, square witness to what I was about to do. My hand was no longer trembling. That surprised me more than anything else that morning. I started calling. The first store, Lucky Star Pawn, didn't have it. The woman who answered sounded bored. The second store, Cash Express, put me on hold for 6 minutes before telling me no. The third one was permanently closed. The fourth didn't answer. I sat on the bed for each call, describing the necklace the same way every time. Gold chain, heart-shaped locket, inscription inside, Forever WIE, 14 karat, probably sold yesterday. Each time I thanked them politely and moved on to the next number, Jennifer's voice occasionally drifting up from downstairs, giving someone orders. Robert's sports commentators maintained a steady background murmur. I ignored it all. The sixth call was different. Desert Gold Pawn, Harold speaking. I'm looking for a gold necklace with a heart-shaped locket, I said. It was sold to you yesterday. A pause. Ah, yes, I remember that piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Are you the husband? A lump caught in my throat. Yes. My wife passed away 3 years ago. I'm so sorry. His voice held genuine compassion. Sir, there's something you need to know about that locket. I straightened up. What do you mean? While I was examining it, the locket opened. There was a small note inside. The room tilted slightly. A note? I didn't know it opened. I carefully pulled it out. Didn't want to damage it. It has numbers written on it. Something about a bank. 40 years of marriage. And I never knew what locket opened. Eleanor wore it against her skin every day. And it never occurred to me to look for a clasp. I never tried to open it. Did you tell the woman who sold it? I asked. She was already gone. Honestly, I'm not sure she knew the locket opened. She seemed to be in a hurry. Of course. Jennifer was rushing to convert my wife's jewelry into vacation money. She probably hadn't even looked closely at it, only seeing gold and dollar signs. I have to get it back, I said. How much? I gave her $800 for it. Its fair value is around $1,200. It's 14-karat gold, and the craftsmanship is exceptional. I'll pay the $1,200. Can I pick it up today? Stop by before 6 o'clock. I'll hold it for you. And sir, he paused, I won't resell it to anyone else. It's yours. I thanked him, jotted down the address, and sat for a moment, looking at the phone. Eleanor had hidden something in that locket, a note with banking information. What else had she hidden from me? I stood up, put my wallet and keys in my pocket, and went downstairs. The family didn't even look up as I walked through the living room. Robert was still on the sofa. Mary was hunched over her phone on the small couch. Jennifer was somewhere in the back of the house. I walked out the front door into the November sun. The drive downtown took 30 minutes. I programmed the address into my phone's GPS and followed the calm voice down familiar streets that, magically, turned strange. Strip malls, auto repair shops, and the occasional palm tree. Phoenix spreading flat and beige in every direction. Desert gold. The pawn shop occupied a corner storefront between a nail salon and a tax preparation office. The windows had bars, but they were clean bars. A neat sign. I parked in front and sat for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, bracing myself. Inside, the store smelled of old leather and metal polish, the walls covered by glass cases full of jewelry, watches, and cameras. A short man, about 50 years old, stood behind the counter. He had neatly trimmed gray hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. Mr. Davis? He asked. That's me, Harold Chen. He extended his hand, and I shook it. Let me get your necklace. He disappeared into a back room and returned with a small bundle wrapped in a soft cloth. He carefully unrolled it onto the counter. And there it was, Eleanor's necklace. The gold gleamed in the fluorescent light just as I remembered it, looking up from her collarbone every morning for 40 years. The young woman who sold it to me, Harold said softly, was about 40, and she seemed rushed. She didn't want to negotiate. I gave her $800 because it seemed fair for the weight, but I knew right away it was worth more. He paused. Is she your daughter? I didn't answer. I just pulled out my wallet and counted out $1,200 in bills. Harold already had the paperwork ready. He slid a small envelope across the counter. The note, he said. I kept it safe here. Thank you, I managed to say. Take care of it this time, he said kindly. I drove 3 blocks before I had to pull over. My hands were trembling again, the emotion washing over me as the task was finished and I was alone. I parked in a strip mall parking lot, my truck facing the afternoon sun that poured through the windshield. The necklace felt heavier than I remembered. I held it up to the light, turning it slowly, looking for the clasp Harold had mentioned. There it was. So small I had never seen it. A tiny indentation on the side of the heart. I pressed it with my thumbnail. The locket sprang open. Inside, rolled incredibly tightly, was a piece of paper no bigger than my pinky nail. I used my fingernails to pluck it out and carefully unrolled it against my thigh. Eleanor's handwriting, microscopic but unmistakable. Bank of Arizona, Box 4782. I sat in my truck, staring at those words until the sun shifted and the glare on the windshield became unbearable. Eleanor had a safety deposit box at the Bank of Arizona, number 4782, and she had never told me. The next day, I drove home, parked in the driveway, walked past my family who were still in their same spots as if they were part of the furniture, and went up to my room. I stood by the window, watching the sun set on the horizon, the necklace clutched in one hand and the note in the other. What had Eleanor hidden from me? Why? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, turning the questions over and over. The necklace resting on my chest, where Eleanor used to wear it, feeling the slight weight of the gold, wondering what other secrets she might have kept. Morning came slowly. I showered, dressed in my best khakis and a button-down shirt, and drove to the main Bank of Arizona branch on Washington Street. The 10-story building was glass and steel, and imposing. I pushed through the revolving door and entered a marble lobby where hushed conversations and the clicking of heels echoed. A young woman at the information desk looked up with a professional smile. Her name tag read, Lisa. "I need to access a safety deposit box," I said. "Of course," she said. "Do you have the box number and your identification?" I showed her Eleanor's death certificate. I had brought it, sensing I would need it, and my driver's license. Lisa examined them carefully. "I need to see your ID and your wife's death certificate." "Are you listed as the spouse?" "Yes." 42 years married. She typed information into her computer, nodding. The box was last accessed in 2019, 6 years ago. No activity since then. 2019. Eleanor was diagnosed in early 2022. She had prepared this 3 years before she got sick, before either of us knew what was coming. "My wife passed in 2022, I said. "She must have planned it all in advance." Lisa's professional expression softened slightly. "Take all the time you need in the private viewing room, Mr. Davis. I'll explain the process." She led me through a heavy door to a vault, with walls of metal drawers, each with 2 locks. Lisa used her key and the box number to retrieve a long metallic container. She handed it to me. It was heavier than I expected, and led me to a small, windowless room with a table and a chair. "I'll be outside when you're finished," she said softly, and closed the door. I sat there alone, the metal box on the table in front of me, and I couldn't bring myself to open it. I rested my hands on either side, feeling the coldness of the metal, and thought of Eleanor, 6 years ago, coming into this same room, putting something in the box and locking it away without telling me. Finally, I lifted the lid, stacks of bills, $100 bills in envelopes, secured with rubber bands. I quickly counted, at least $20,000, maybe more. And underneath, a sealed envelope with my name written in Eleanor's careful handwriting. Wilbur. I picked up the letter, pressed it against my chest, my eyes closed. She knew, somehow she knew something was wrong. She knew I would need it. She knew Jennifer would need her. My hands found the seal of the envelope. I broke it carefully, unfolding the paper. My fingers gently broke the seal, the paper rustling in the silence of the private room. I unfolded 2 pages covered in Eleanor's script. That neat, unhurried handwriting I had seen on grocery lists and birthday cards for 42 years. My breath caught as I started to read. My dearest Wilbur, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you have found what I hid. The first sentence hit me like a punch. Her voice resonated so clearly I could almost hear it. That slight gravel in her voice that had come in her 50s, the way she paused between thoughts. I saved this money over 30 years, small amounts from every paycheck that you never noticed. Don't be angry with me for the secret. I did it because I love you. It tells you what is coming. I read faster. My hand trembled against the edge of the table. Jennifer has always been difficult. Do you remember when she was 25 and demanded we pay for her wedding? Then didn't invite your brother because he couldn't afford an expensive gift? That's when I saw her true self. How she treats people like transactions. How she never has enough. Yes, I remembered. Eleanor had been upset for weeks, but I blamed it on normal wedding stress, mother-daughter tension. I had justified Jennifer. When I am gone, she will see you as nothing more than a resource to be exploited. Robert will encourage this. He has always been a user. You know it, even if you won't say it. And Mary learns from her parents. I'm sorry I have to write this to you, but you need to hear it. I clenched my jaw. Eleanor had been trying to warn me subtly for years, with small comments I had dismissed as overly critical, a mother being too hard on her daughter. But she had seen clearly what I refused to acknowledge. These savings are for you, darling. $27,000 to protect you when you finally see what I saw. Don't let them make a victim out of you. You are stronger than you think. Be strong. Live for yourself. The house, the money, it's all yours. You earned it. Don't let them take it from you through guilt or obligation. I stopped reading and pressed the letter to my chest. $27,000 plus what was in the box. I quickly counted and estimated it was over $20,000. Eleanor had saved almost $50,000 without my knowledge. How had I not noticed? All those years working the night shift at the hospital, taking extra hours, and I thought it was just her dedication to nursing. The final paragraph. I wish I could be there to protect you, but I trust you will know what to do when the time comes. You have always been thoughtful, methodical, and careful. Use those strengths now. Don't be intimidated, and know that I love you more than anything in this world. Always yours, Eleanor, always yours. I sat in that small room and reread certain passages, the wedding incident, the warning about Robert, the instructions to be strong. Every word felt like a confirmation that I hadn't known I desperately needed. Eleanor had seen everything, understood everything, and prepared for this moment. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into my jacket pocket over my heart. The money stayed in the box. It was too much to carry safely, and I didn't know yet what I would do with it. I stood up, pushed the chair in, and opened the door. Lisa looked up from her desk. All set, Mr. Davis? Yes. Thank you for your help. You're welcome. If you need to access the box again, just call ahead. I walked through the marble lobby, my footsteps echoing. Outside, the afternoon sun hit me like a wall, raw and unforgiving. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, looking through the windshield at the concrete wall of the parking garage in front of me, not really seeing it. Eleanor was still protecting me, even now, even from beyond. I touched the necklace beneath my shirt, feeling the warm metal against my skin. The drive home passed almost without my noticing. Traffic lights, blinkers, lane changes. At a red light on Central Avenue, I pressed my palm against the letter in my pocket. A horn blared behind me. The light had turned green. I kept driving, mentally processing everything I had read. My house looked different when I arrived. I sat watching from the window before getting out. Jennifer on the sofa, her feet tucked under her, phone pressed to her ear, laughing at something. Robert, sprawled in my recliner. Eleanor's 30th anniversary gift, brown leather, molded to the shape of my body. Mary at the kitchen table, bottles of nail polish scattered, cotton balls everywhere, painting her nails a bright pink. My house, my space, occupied like conquered territory. I walked in. No one looked up. Jennifer was the first to notice the necklace. The chain was visible at my neck, where I had tucked it inside my shirt. Her eyes locked onto it, and her expression hardened. "Is that Mother's necklace? You got it back?" I touched it gently. "Yes." She stood up, putting her phone down. "Give it to me. We sold it. It's ours now. You can't just get it back." "I bought it back. I paid $1,200. She flushed. "With whose money? You live on a fixed income. You're wasting our inheritance." "Our inheritance." As if I were already dead. As if everything I had already belonged to them. Robert sat up from the recliner and walked over. "Jennifer's right. You're spending money that should go to the family." It was my wife's necklace. "Your dead wife?" He said it as casually as commenting on the weather. "You need to move on, Wilbur. Accept reality." "Reality?" "Yes, you're old. This house is too big for you. Sign the transfer now. Save us trouble later." I looked at him. I stared, seeing the calculation in his eyes, the barely disguised greed. He wasn't even pretending anymore. None of them were. From the table, Mary chimed in, without looking up from her nails. "Grandpa, you're being selfish. Mom and Dad need security. Living here rent-free, that's what family does. We take care of each other." "Is that what this is?" I asked quietly. "Taking care?" No one answered. Jennifer crossed her arms. Robert clenched his jaw as if he wanted to say more. Mary blew on her freshly painted nails. I walked to my room and closed the door. The soft click of the lock felt like a final ending. I sat on the bed, took out Eleanor's letter, unfolded it, and reread the final paragraph. "Be strong. Live for yourself." I tucked the letter carefully into my nightstand drawer. I retrieved a yellow pad and a pen from my desk. I sat at the desk Eleanor had bought at an estate sale years ago, the surface scarred and solid. At the top of the first page, I wrote, "March 17th, actions taken." Below it, I began a list. The first bullet point, document everything. I woke before dawn on March 18th. The notepad on my nightstand was full of notes from the night before. I had spent hours after the confrontation thinking, planning, writing. My engineering training coming back to me. Identify the problem, gather data, develop solutions, execute systematically. I dressed in silence, in the dark. The house was quiet around me, my family still sleeping off a night of television and complaints. I moved through the hallway like a ghost, each step deliberate and soft. In the living room, I photographed Robert's scattered belongings. Work boots by the door. He didn't work. Jacket draped over the arm of the sofa. Remote controls. Bags of potato chips. Beer cans on the end table. My coffee table, moved almost 3 feet to accommodate it all. The bathroom was next. Mary's makeup covered every inch of the counter. Foundation bottles, lipsticks, eyeshadow palettes, brushes and cups. I photographed it all. The guest room Eleanor used for her crafts now served as Jennifer's dressing room. I opened the door and saw clothes racks and shoes lined up against the wall. I took pictures of that too. In the kitchen, I opened the refrigerator. Everything I had bought was there. I pulled the receipt from my wallet. $243 from 3 days ago. I took pictures of the food, then the receipt next to it. The power bill was on the counter. $287. My name at the top, no reimbursement. I photographed that too. Back in my room at 6:30, I transferred the photos to my laptop and created folders organized by date and category. This would be my evidence, irrefutable, documented. Over the next 2 weeks, I became methodical. I went through my filing cabinet and pulled out documents I had kept organized for years. The house deed, purchased in 1985 and paid off in 2018, in my name only. The property tax records, all current, all paid by me. Utility bills for the last 3 years, all showing zero contribution from Jennifer's family. On March 25th, when everyone was gone, Jennifer at her part-time dental office job, Robert supposedly job hunting, and Mary meeting friends, I set up the camera. I had thoroughly researched Arizona law. Only one-party consent is required for recording. It's my house, and I have the right to protect it. I found a camera system online that was disguised as a smoke detector. I ordered it with 2-day shipping. The installation took me 1 hour. I watched a tutorial on my laptop twice and then carefully removed the old smoke detector from the corner of the living room. The new unit looked identical, but it contained a barely visible wide-angle camera lens behind the white plastic panel. I installed it and tested the connection with my phone. Perfect view of the sofa, the kitchen entrance, almost the entire downstairs. I felt no remorse. It was my house, my property. They had forfeited any expectation of privacy the moment they began planning how to take everything from me. The recordings soon proved valuable. By March 29th, I had hours of footage. That evening, I sat at my desk in my room, the door locked, the laptop open, watching the recordings. Jennifer's voice was clear. "I can't believe he spent $1,200 on that necklace." "It's our money," Robert said from the sofa. "He's being selfish. Old people get like that. When this house is ours, the first thing I'm doing is remodeling. This place is stuck in 1985. Maybe we won't have to wait long." How old is he? 67? How many years does he really have left? I saved the video and labeled it carefully. Exhibit 329, Inheritance Discussion, MP4. Another video from April 1st showed Mary talking on the phone with a friend, sitting on the stairs. "My grandpa is such a pain. He got all weird because my mom sold some old necklace," she says. The friend's voice is faint. "Why did she sell it?" "We needed money to go to Hawaii. He wouldn't give it to us, so my mom just handled it herself. Honestly, I'll be glad when this house is ours and we don't have to deal with his drama." My face remained impassive as I watched the video, saved it, and added it to the growing folder. The financial analysis took longer. I gathered 3 years of bank statements, spread them across my desk, and created a spreadsheet. Every loan to Robert was logged in the document with dates and amounts. $500 for car repairs. In May of 2022, $1,200 for a dental emergency in August of 2022. $2,000 for an investment opportunity in November of 2022. And so on. Month after month, I added formulas. Watch the total increase. When I finished, the figure at the bottom was $18,500. The actual repayment column contained only zeros. I printed the spreadsheet, added it to my evidence folder, and found Jennifer's credit card statements mixed in with my mail. She had been using my address without permission. The Hawaii trip was clearly itemized. $4,200, including flights, hotel, excursions. plus the $800 from the sale of Eleanor's necklace. By early April, my folder was bursting with documentation, photos, videos, financial records, property documents, all organized with tabs and labels. One afternoon, I was sitting at my desk, the folder open before me, and I knew. It was time. I picked up my phone and searched for elder law attorneys in Phoenix. Patricia Morrison's office came up third in the results. Protecting the rights of older adults, experienced elder law attorney. I called the next morning. Her receptionist gave me an appointment for April 3rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The downtown office building rose 12 stories, its glass and steel structure reflecting the desert sky. I parked in the garage, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, and saw Patricia Morrison's name on a glass door. The reception area was neat, with leather armchairs and legal magazines on an end table. The receptionist ushered me into Patricia's office. She stood to greet me, a woman in her 50s with sharp gray hair pulled back, a business suit, and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She shook my hand firmly and indicated a chair across from her tidy desk. "Mr. Davis, tell me what's happening." I placed my evidence folder on her desk. My daughter and her family have been living in my house for 3 years. They don't pay rent or contribute to expenses. They've been financially exploiting me and are waiting for me to die so they can take everything. Patricia's expression didn't change. She opened the folder, began reviewing the documents, taking notes in her pad and asking questions with precision and efficiency. "Do they pay anything for household expenses?" "No." "Have you asked them to leave?" "Not formally." "Good. We'll do this properly." She continued reviewing the folder, watching videos on my laptop, examining the spreadsheet, reading the property documents. 20 minutes of silence, interrupted only by her occasional questions. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Davis, this documentation is excellent, very thorough. How long has your daughter's family been living there?" 3 years since my wife passed. "And they have never paid rent, utilities, or contributed to household expenses?" "Not $1. "Jennifer says family doesn't charge family." Patricia nodded and wrote, "Did you invite them to live there permanently, or was it temporary?" "Temporary, just until they found a place. That was 3 years ago." She put down her pen and folded her hands. "Under Arizona law, they are tenants at will. Terms of tenancy can be established at any time. And if they refuse to pay, then we have grounds for eviction. But we follow the legal procedure exactly. Everything is documented. Everything is legal." "How long does an eviction take?" "If they contest it, maybe 3 months. But with this evidence of their behavior, the thoroughly documented financial exploitation, I don't think it will take that long. Most people leave when they realize you're serious." I touched the necklace under my shirt. Eleanor's presence still guiding me, still protecting me. "My retainer is $3,000, Patricia said. "That covers the initial filing, drafting the lease agreement, and the first phase of the eviction process, if necessary." "That sounds fine." She observed me for a moment. "Are you sure you want to do this? They are your family. My wife warned me this would happen. I should have listened to her sooner." Patricia pulled a legal services agreement from her drawer and placed it in front of me with a pen. "Let's get to work," she said. I signed with a steady hand, putting my signature on the bottom line, and handed the document back across the desk. She took it, filed it in a folder with precise, professional movements. "I'll have the lease agreement drafted by next week. We'll serve them formally and see how they react." I stood up and shook her hand again. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning." I left her office in the hallway. The door closed behind me with a soft click that felt like one thing ending and something else beginning. The war had officially begun. A week after signing Patricia's legal services agreement, I sat at my desk reviewing the lease agreement she had emailed me. 3 professionally formatted pages, full of legal language. I read each clause twice, then a third time. Rent, $1,500 per month, due on the 1st of each month. Payment of 50% of utility costs. Respectful conduct towards the landlord and peaceful enjoyment of the property. 30 days notice required if the tenant violates the established terms. Market price for a similar space in Phoenix was around $2,200. Patricia had explained the strategy. Establish reasonable terms so no judge could consider them punitive. This wasn't about taking advantage of Jennifer. It was about establishing my rights as the homeowner and their status as tenants. I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Eleanor would approve of this methodical approach. I clicked reply, typed, "Perfect. Let's proceed." I hit send without hesitation. Patricia handled the official notification. On April 10th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a woman arrived at my door with a leather portfolio, dressed professionally, completely formal. Deborah Clean, Notary Public. Jennifer appeared behind me. "Who is that?" I stepped aside to let Deborah in. She went to the dining table, opened her portfolio, took out the lease agreement and her notary seal. Jennifer stood nearby, her expression suspicious. "Ms. Thompson, I am here to serve you with the lease agreement for this property." Deborah's voice was formal. "Please read it and sign the acknowledgement of receipt." Jennifer took the document. Her eyes quickly scanned the first page. Her expression darkened with every line. $1,500 a month plus utilities. This is insane. The document details the conditions for continued residency here, Deborah said calmly. You don't have to agree to it. Only acknowledge receipt. I'm not signing anything. Deborah made a note on her form. Service is considered complete anyway. You have 30 days to respond. Jennifer turned sharply to me. What is this? A joke? This is a legally required lease agreement. We are your family. This house belongs to us. This house belongs to me. The deed is in my name. You are tenants. Tenants? Tenants! The nerve! Robert stormed out of the living room, snatched the agreement from Jennifer's trembling hands, read it quickly, his face red. You're not thinking clearly, Wilbur. Maybe you need a doctor to evaluate your mental state. I'm fine mentally. We'll see what the judge says. Mental competency hearing. We'll get guardianship. You can try if you want. He moved closer, capitalizing on his height. You have no idea what you're starting, old man. Deborah gathered her things efficiently, clearly accustomed to hostile situations. She left without another word. The door closed behind her with a dry click. The terms are reasonable, I said into the silence. A below-market rent for this neighborhood. We are not paying you rent, Jennifer said, her voice cracking. Then you have to leave. Robert clenched his jaw. We aren't going anywhere. You have 30 days. After that, the decision is no longer yours. I walked to my room, closed the door, sat on the bed for a moment, and took a deep breath. Through the walls, Jennifer's voice rose furiously. Robert's deep, gray voice answered. Mary's higher-pitched tone joined the chorus. I had other steps to take. Getting to the downtown bank took 30 minutes. I parked in their garage, took the elevator up, and asked to speak with the manager. Marcus, in his 30s, professionally dressed, led me to his office. How can I help you today, Mr. Davis? I slid Jennifer's old signature card across his desk. I need to remove her access to my accounts. Marcus typed on his computer. He frowned. She hasn't accessed the account recently, but there was an attempt last week, April 3rd. We denied it because she didn't have valid identification, but she claimed to be acting on your behalf. I clenched my jaw. April 3rd, the same day I met with Patricia. Jennifer had tried to empty my accounts while I was seeking legal representation. I'm removing her completely. New passwords, new security questions. I'll also flag the account for fraud attempts. Marcus took notes. Do you want a record of the attempted access? Yes. Print the security log. He did. I added it to my growing evidence folder. The next morning, I met with Andrew Morrison, a wills and trusts specialist Patricia had recommended. His office was on the second floor of a quiet building near Camelback Mountain. Andrew reviewed my will, which included everything due to Jennifer, drafted 5 years ago, and set it aside, pulling out new documents. Are you sure about these changes? Completely sure. I initialed each page in the name of 3 beneficiaries: the Phoenix Homeless Coalition, the Memory Research Foundation, and the Arizona Center for Elder Advocacy. Organizations that actually did good in the world. Jennifer would receive nothing. Andrew witnessed my signature, affixed his notary seal, sealed the document in an envelope, and handed me a copy. Effective immediately, Mr. Davis. Thank you. Back home, I avoided the living room where my family was gathered and heard Jennifer on the phone. I know Mother's lawyer could help. I didn't know Eleanor's family lawyer, but I doubted he would side with Jennifer once he understood the situation. In the following days, I documented everything. Robert accidentally blocked my path in the hallways. Jennifer went through my mail. I found several open and folded letters, hidden in the kitchen drawer beneath the dish towels, including the letter from Patricia with a detailed legal strategy. Federal crime, mail tampering. I photographed the tampered envelopes, the hiding spot, everything. Night of April 14th. I tried to leave my room for dinner. Robert was leaning against the wall right outside my door. Excuse me. He didn't move. We need to talk about this rent mess. Move, please. He shifted slightly. It wasn't enough. What if I don't? I'll call the police. He laughed. Why? I'm in the hallway. He eventually moved, but the message was clear. The hallway camera recorded everything. His deliberate positioning, his refusal to move, his threatening posture. That same evening, the situation escalated. I was making tea in the kitchen when he came in, moving too close, invading my space. When I tried to go around him, he shoved me, not hard enough to knock me down, but enough to make me stumble against the counter. Watch it, old man. Accidents happen at your age. The camera recorded it perfectly. His hand making contact, my body moving from the force, his satisfied smile. I didn't react. I took my tea to my room and locked the door. At my desk, I methodically compiled everything. The video of Robert blocking the door, the video of the shove, the clear aggression, the photos of the intercepted mail, the bank notifications about Jennifer's attempted access. I created a folder, Emergency Eviction Evidence, with organized subfolders, and wrote an email to Patricia detailing every infraction. I attached the complete folder. Her response came in minutes. Call me immediately. This changes everything. I called her, and she answered on the first ring. Wilbur, the shove is battery. The mail tampering is a federal crime. The attempted bank fraud is elder exploitation. What does this mean? It means we are not waiting 30 days. I'm filing for emergency eviction based on domestic violence and financial abuse. When? Court hearing in 2 weeks. Bring all the evidence. They are going to regret escalating this. On April 15th, I received another notification from my bank. Jennifer had attempted to access my account a second time. This time, she alleged I had granted her power of attorney. The bank denied it and flagged it as possible elder fraud. I forwarded the email to Patricia, Subject, escalating. Message body, one word, more ammo. I clicked send and watched the confirmation appear. I closed my laptop slowly. Through my bedroom door, Jennifer and Robert's voices rose in an argument, no doubt planning their next move. Still confident, they had some tricks up their sleeves. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and found Jennifer sitting at the table with a stranger. A man in a cheap suit, briefcase open, papers spread before him. Jennifer's eyes were red, and she held a crumpled tissue in her fist. She looked up. "Dad, this is my lawyer, Mr. Carlson. We need to talk." Robert Carlson stood up and offered his hand. I shook it, but remained standing. "Mr. Davis, I've reviewed the lease agreement you served my client," he said, indicating a chair. I didn't sit. "I believe there's room for negotiation." "The word remains standing," Jennifer exclaimed, gesturing pleadingly from her seat. Carlson gave her a side glance, then looked back at me. "Sir, may I speak frankly?" He didn't wait for my permission. "You are within your rights. The house is solely in your name. The terms of the lease are reasonable, in fact, below market price. My legal advice to my client is to comply with the agreement or move out." Jennifer's face darkened. "That can't be true. Tell him he's wrong, Dad." "He's not wrong." Carlson closed his briefcase with a decisive snap. "Ms. Thompson, your father is the absolute owner of this property. You are not on the deed, nor the mortgage history. There is no claim of adverse possession after only 3 years. Kinship does not create property rights. Legally, you are a tenant at will, and he is establishing the formal terms." "But I'm his daughter. I have rights. Not over his property. I'm sorry." Carlson stood up. "Mr. Davis, if you'll excuse me." He left quickly, clearly wanting to distance himself from Jennifer's rising hysteria. The moment the door closed, Jennifer turned to me. "I can't believe you're doing this. Mother would be devastated." "Your mother left me a letter. She warned me about you." Jennifer froze. "What letter? You're lying." "She knew exactly who you were. She was right about everything." Her tears suddenly stopped, as if a switch had been flipped, and her voice hardened. "You're going to regret this." She stormed into the guest room and slammed the door. I heard her on the phone immediately, her voice breaking and complaining. Over the next few days, she initiated a systematic campaign. She knocked on my bedroom door at noon. She looked vulnerable, clutching tissues, her eyes filled with fake tears. "Dad, please, I can't sleep. My chest hurts. The stress is killing me." She took my hand. I kept it by my side. "I've sacrificed so much to be here with you after Mom died. How can you do this to me?" I watched her performance with indifference. Eleanor's letter had immunized me against this manipulation. "You have 29 days left." I closed the door. Her sobs sounded feigned, even through the wood. Robert's approach was different, more direct, more physical. I tried to leave my room the next morning. He was in the hallway, leaning against the wall, right outside my door. He wasn't entirely blocking it, but he was close enough that I had to pass next to him. "Excuse me." He didn't move. "We need to talk about this rent mess." "Move, please." He shifted his position. Not enough to let me pass. "What if I don't?" "I'll call the police." "Why?" "I'm in the middle of the hallway." His smile lacked warmth. "I'm waiting to use the bathroom. Is that a crime?" He finally moved, but not before forcing me to turn sideways to get past. The hallway camera captured his deliberate positioning, his calculated intimidation. That afternoon, I found my mail in the kitchen drawer again. 3 days of correspondence, including another open letter from Patricia. My hands trembled as I photographed the evidence. Federal mail tampering. I immediately sent the photos to Patricia. Social pressure came from Mary. She had been posting regularly since the lease agreement was served, creating a victim narrative for her followers. My neighbor, Mr. Chen, approached me at the mailbox. "Wilbur, I saw some posts online," your granddaughter asked. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine, Tom." "She made it sound like you were having some kind of episode. Memory issues, maybe." "I'm setting the terms of tenancy for my property, that's all." His expression showed he didn't quite believe me. "Right. Well, if you need anything." He left quickly, leaving me alone with my mail. Across the street, Mrs. Patterson saw me, turned, and went inside without her usual greeting. Mary's campaign was working. The neighborhood was turning against me because of lies posted on social media. April 14th was when Robert crossed the line. I was making tea in the kitchen. He walked in and moved too close. When I tried to go around him, he put his hand on my chest and shoved me. Not hard enough to knock me down, but enough to make me stumble against the counter and have to grab the edge. "Watch it, old man. Accidents happen at your age." I said nothing, picked up my tea, and left. Behind me, Jennifer's voice. "Robert?" "Not in the house." But the camera had recorded everything. His hand making contact, my body being forced backward, his threatening tone. In my room, sitting in front of my laptop, I methodically compiled the evidence. Videos organized by date and severity. Photos of tampered mail, screenshots of bank fraud notifications. Mary's social media posts archived. I created a comprehensive chronological document linking each incident to the corresponding evidence. Everything organized, everything documented, everything ready for court. I sent the complete package to Patricia via email. Her response was immediate. "Just in time. Emergency hearing scheduled for May 2nd, 2 weeks from now. They won't know what hit them." That same afternoon, I received another notification from my bank. Jennifer had attempted to access my account again, claiming I had granted her power of attorney. The bank denied it, flagged the account as suspicious, and contacted me for verification. I called them immediately, confirmed the attempted fraud, and requested all documentation. They sent it to me within the hour. I forwarded it to Patricia with a single word in the message. "More ammo," she replied. "This is a textbook case of elder financial exploitation. Coupled with the battery and mail tampering, we have a very strong case. They are going to get a taste of their own medicine. They are done." I stood by my bedroom window, watching the sun set behind the western mountains. Phoenix stretched out below in the amber light, the city where Eleanor and I had built our life together. Where we had raised Jennifer, bought this house, worked, saved, and planned a future we thought would be peaceful. In the living room, I could hear my family arguing. Jennifer's voice, high-pitched with panic, Robert's defensive growl, Mary's complaints about having to move. They still believed they were winning. They still believed their tears, threats, and social media posts would force me to give in. They had no idea the trap had already sprung on them. I touched Eleanor's necklace through my shirt, felt the warm gold against my skin, and allowed myself a slight smile. 2 weeks until the hearing. 14 days until justice arrived. I could wait. 2 weeks later, I sat in a courtroom watching Judge Margaret Stone review the documents on her bench. The emergency hearing had arrived. Patricia sat beside me, 2 accordion folders spread on the table. Across the aisle, Jennifer was huddled with Carlson and Robert, all 3 avoiding my gaze. Judge Stone looked up, her steel-gray hair framing piercing eyes that had undoubtedly seen through countless family disputes. I have reviewed the evidence presented by Ms. Morrison. The videos are particularly disturbing. Carlson stood up. Your Honor, this is a family dispute. Emotions are running high. Mr. Carlson, battery is battery, regardless of kinship, and mail tampering is a federal offense. The judge's voice cut through his excuse. I am issuing a temporary restraining order. Mr. Thompson must maintain a minimum distance of 10 feet from Mr. Davis at all times within the shared residence. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Robert nodded reluctantly, his jaw tight. The full eviction hearing is scheduled for July 2nd. Mr. Davis is within his rights to establish terms of tenancy or seek eviction from his property. Patricia leaned over as we stood. 2 months, but we're winning. The family returned home that afternoon. The restraining order didn't fundamentally change anything. Robert kept his physical distance, but the hostility remained palpable. They refused to pay the $1,500. They ignored all communications from Patricia. They were squatting in my house, betting that I would give up. In mid-May, I made a decision that surprised even Patricia. I want to sell the house. Silence on the phone. Wilbur, that is radical, but strategically brilliant. Eliminate the asset they are fighting over. Exactly. She recommended Robert Santos, a real estate agent who handled difficult situations professionally. He arrived on May 20th at 10 o'clock in the morning with a leather portfolio and a digital camera. Mr. Davis, let's see what we're working with. I showed him the property. He photographed every room, the living room, with the family's belongings pushed aside. The kitchen, dated but functional. The bedrooms, showing their layout. He took measurements with a laser device. He wrote notes on a tablet. Jennifer watched from the hallway, arms crossed, suspicious but not yet understanding. In the backyard, Robert was measuring the fence. Jennifer stormed outside. Who are you? What are you doing? Robert remained composed. I'm a licensed real estate agent doing a property appraisal. She turned to me in the yard, pale as snow. Dad, what is this? I'm selling the house. No, you can't. This house is ours. I grew up here. It's my home. She stepped forward, then stopped, remembering the restraining order against Robert, calculating if it also applied to her. My name is on the deed. My decision. Robert finished measuring, thanked me quietly, and left Jennifer standing in the yard, looking distressed. The next day, he called with his valuation. The property is in good shape. Some cosmetic improvements would help, but it can sell as is. I'd list it for $385,000. You should receive offers between $375,000 and $385,000 in 2 weeks. How fast can we act? List it tomorrow. With the Phoenix market, you'll have offers by the weekend. Done. A week later, Robert returned with a company truck and an assistant. They installed a large sign in the front yard, bright red and white, impossible to ignore. For sale, in large letters, with Robert's photo and phone number underneath. Jennifer watched from the living room window, her face contorted with rage and disbelief. Within hours, the listing was published online. My phone vibrated with a notification. Your property is now live on the MLS. I showed it to Patricia on a video call. She smiled. Perfect. The first showing took place 3 days later. A young couple, Sarah and Marcus Chen, both in their 30s, walked in awkwardly. I had retreated to my room, but I could hear them moving through the house. Jennifer's family stayed put, staring at the intruders. Robert deliberately sprawled on the sofa, making them uncomfortable. The young woman's voice echoed down the hall. Are the current occupants included? Robert answered diplomatically. The property will be vacant at closing. Despite the hostility, they were interested. Robert called me that night. They're making an offer. $383,000. $2,000 under list price. But they are pre-approved and want to close fast. Accept it. Are you sure? You don't want to counter for the full price. Speed matters more than $2,000. Accept it. Meanwhile, Jennifer made desperate attempts to build a defense. I watched her from my window as she approached Mrs. Patterson on the sidewalk. Their voices drifted across the yard. Mrs. Patterson, I need your help. My father is trying to evict us. Can you testify that I've been taking care of him? Mrs. Patterson's discomfort was evident even from a distance. Oh my. I'm not sure I can do that. You've seen me here. You know I take care of him. Jennifer, dear, I've seen you and your family living in his house. Frankly, I haven't seen much caring. You don't understand the situation. I think I understand it perfectly. Mrs. Patterson walked away quickly. Jennifer tried to talk to 2 more neighbors, with similar results. No one would testify to something they hadn't witnessed. At the end of May, I met with Robert at a coffee shop to formalize the acceptance. He spread the purchase offer onto the small table. Several pages of legal documents with signature lines highlighted in yellow. Initials here, here, and here. Signature at the bottom. I took his pen, a heavy silver instrument. I carefully initialed 3 pages. I signed my full name on the acceptance page. Wilbur Davis. My signature was steady, without hesitation. Robert countersigned as the agent and slid the documents into his portfolio. I'll deliver these to their agent today. Closing is scheduled for August 15th. Yeah, and we shook hands. Stepping out into the bright June sun, my phone vibrated. A message from Patricia. July 2nd is 3 weeks away. Are you ready? I replied with a single word. Yes. I woke before dawn on July 2nd, dressed in the dark suit I had worn to Eleanor's funeral 3 years earlier, adjusted my tie in the mirror, and saw my face. Older now. Somehow harder. I touched the necklace beneath my shirt, feeling the warm gold through the fabric. Today was the day. Patricia met me in the courthouse hallway at 9 o'clock. She wore a sleek business suit and carried the same accordion folders, now even thicker with evidence. We have everything we need, she said. Video evidence, financial records, medical documentation, neighbor witness statements. Jennifer arrived moments later with Carlson, Robert, and Mary. We sat on opposite sides of the hallway, not speaking. The silence was fitting. At 10 o'clock, we entered the courtroom. Judge Stone sat on her bench, briefly reviewed the documents, and looked up. Ms. Morrison, you may proceed. Patricia stood at the podium. A screen had been set up for the video presentation. She played the video of Robert shoving me against the counter. The judge leaned forward, watching intently. This was recorded on April 14th, the day before we filed for emergency relief. She moved to the financial spreadsheet. These are documented loans totaling $18,500 over 3 years. Not a single dollar reimbursed. Then she presented my medical history. Blood pressure, 152/95. Documented stress-related symptoms. Doctor's notes indicating the client reports a hostile family environment. Every detail built an irrefutable narrative. Carlson stood when Patricia finished, attempting to humanize Jennifer. Your Honor, my client has been living in her childhood home. Was there an understanding? Judge Stone cut him off. Was there a written agreement establishing this understanding? No. But verbal agreements regarding property occupancy must be formalized. Mr. Davis attempted to do exactly that with the lease agreement. Your client refused. She motioned for him to sit down. I have heard enough. The room fell silent. I have reviewed all the evidence presented. The financial exploitation is evident and documented. The video recordings show a pattern of intimidation and harassment. Judge Stone looked directly at Jennifer. Ms. Thompson, you were offered reasonable terms of tenancy. You refused. You were given multiple opportunities to vacate voluntarily. You refused. Jennifer tightly gripped the edge of the table. I grant the eviction. You have 30 days until August 1st. If you have not vacated by then, the sheriff will execute the order. Jennifer burst into tears. Robert stared straight ahead, stunned. Mary tried to grab her phone before the bailiff cleared his throat significantly. Outside the courtroom, Jennifer approached me in the hallway. Her face was red and her mascara was running. Dad, please don't do this. We'll change. We'll pay the rent. It's too late. Where are we supposed to go? That's no longer my problem. How can you be so cold? We're your family. I looked at her. I stared, seeing Eleanor's features on her face, but none of her warmth. You had 3 years after your mother's death to act like a family. You chose to act like parasites. She flinched as if I had slapped her. Patricia touched my arm. Wilbur, we should go. The sale continued on its own timetable. In mid-July, a home inspector checked the house, followed by Sarah and Marcus Chen. Jennifer's boxes were already stacked in the corners. The reality of their departure was setting in. The inspector checked the electrical panel, the plumbing, and the foundation. The water heater is old. The roof has about 5 years of useful life left. Nothing major. Sarah asked me quietly, have you lived here long? 40 years. I built almost the entire deck myself. Marcus smiled. It's a good, solid house. It deserves a family that will appreciate it. Sarah understood what I didn't want to say. We'll take good care of it. That's all I ask. On July 19th, one day before the deadline, a rental truck appeared in the driveway. I stayed in my room, the door locked, listening to the sounds of their leaving. Furniture dragging on the floor, boxes crashing, Jennifer's sharp voice giving orders. Mary complained about having to carry heavy things. Neighbors watched from their yards, witnessing the family's exodus. A knock at my door. I opened it. Jennifer stood there, exhausted, defeated, covered in sweat and dust. Are you happy now? You got what you wanted? I didn't want this. You forced me. I will never forgive you. I don't need your forgiveness. I have Eleanor's approval. That's enough. Her face hardened. I hope you are satisfied. I'm not satisfied, but I am free. She turned away. Minutes later, the truck engine roared. From my window, I watched it pull out of the driveway, taking my daughter away, perhaps for the last time. The house felt different immediately, lighter. The air circulated more freely. I walked through the empty rooms as the evening light slanted through the windows. Every step echoed. In the living room, deep scratches marked the hardwood floor where they had dragged the sofa. In the master bedroom, there was a fist-sized hole in the wall. Robert's anger leaving its mark. The kitchen counter was stained. A cabinet door hung crookedly. I photographed it all with my phone, narrating quietly. July 19th, 6 o'clock 18 minutes, documenting condition after tenant departure. I had no intention of suing for damages. I had already won. But the documentation felt necessary. The final proof of who they truly were. Standing in the center of the living room, I held up my phone showing the trail of destruction. Scuffed walls, stained floors, broken fixtures. I felt no anger watching those images. I felt confirmed. Eleanor had been right about everything. Her letter had prepared me for this moment, for these people with familiar faces, but empty of love. Through the window, the for sale sign still stood in the yard, now with a red sold sleeve over it. 4 weeks until closing. 4 weeks until I left this house forever. I touched the necklace one more time and then went to my room to start packing. The silence was extraordinary. After 3 years of chaos, voices, demands, and hostility, the silence felt like a gift. I was free. 3 days after my family left, I sat in front of my laptop in the empty house, looking at real estate listings in Scottsdale. The silence echoed around me, my footsteps, my breathing, the typing, all amplified by the absence. My packed boxes filled the walls, a lifetime compressed into cardboard. I had set specific search parameters, a 2-bedroom apartment or condo in a safe neighborhood for under $200,000. Starting over at 67, completely on my own terms. The first property I saw didn't feel right. Too modern, all glass and steel, no warmth. The second was on the ground floor, which made me uneasy after years of feeling vulnerable in my own home. Then, the real estate agent showed me a second-floor apartment in a quiet complex in Scottsdale. It's a 55 and older community, very quiet and secure. I walked out onto the balcony. Mountain views, the evening breeze, other residents my age, dogs being walked below. The complex had a security gate, cameras, and a common room I would probably never use. "Can we make an offer today?" She looked surprised. "Of course." "What are you thinking?" "Full asking price, cash, no contingencies." In early August, the purchase closed. It wasn't $95,000. I used the money Eleanor had saved and part of the house sale. No mortgage. The freedom I felt was extraordinary. I spent a week transforming the second bedroom into a workshop. Power tools, unpacked, still wrapped in factory plastic. I had sold my old equipment years ago, when Jennifer's needs absorbed all my time and space. Now I set up a workbench, a pegboard for tools, and methodically organized storage bins. The table saw, when I tested it, felt deeply satisfying and familiar. I chose oak for my first lumber purchase and began cutting pieces for a shadow box for Eleanor's necklace. Sawdust filled the air. For the first time in years, I was creating something instead of managing someone else's chaos. August 15th arrived, the day of the closing. I met Sarah and Marcus Chen at the title company. A nondescript office, beige walls, a stack of documents. We sat across from each other at the conference table. The title officer explained each document to me. I signed page after page, my signature automatic, the product of decades of engineering contracts. Sarah slid an envelope across the table. "We wrote you a letter for later." I accepted it and put it in my jacket pocket. Marcus handed me a check for the remaining funds. The real estate agent handed the house keys to the Chens. Sarah's eyes were shining. "Thank you for trusting us with your home. Make it yours now. That's what it needs." I walked out carrying only a box of photos and Eleanor's necklace. I didn't look back. I drove directly to my new apartment. I unpacked my few belongings. That night, I sat on my new sofa in the quiet space that was solely mine. I opened Sarah's envelope and read her letter. "We want you to know we understand the sacrifice you made. We will fill it with love and joy. You gave us more than a house. You gave us a future." I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer next to Eleanor's letter. 2 messages of hope from 2 different sources. Meanwhile, I opened a new bank account at a different institution. I transferred approximately $210,000 after all purchases and expenses. I set up automatic payments for utilities, HOA fees. Everything organized with the precision I once applied to engineering projects. For the first time in years, I reviewed my accounts without anxiety, without wondering what Jennifer had taken or Robert had borrowed. Jennifer tried to call me. I saw her name appear on the screen, let it go to voicemail, didn't listen to it. Another call. Another. I opened the settings, searched for block contact. Confirmed. A message from another number. From Robert. You owe us. We're family. Block. Another from Mary's number. Grandpa, please answer. Block. I changed my number the next day. I only gave it to Patricia, my doctor, and the complex security office. At the end of August, a knock came at my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Jennifer was there, looking exhausted and desperate. Dad, I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk. We made mistakes, but we're family. I backed away in silence and sat in my armchair. Her voice was still muffled through the door. We're struggling. We can't afford it. Please, Dad. More knocking on the door. A door opened down the hall. A man's voice. Ma'am, if you don't leave, I'm calling security. Jennifer, I'm his father. He won't answer. You need to leave. Footsteps retreating. Finally, silence. I felt no guilt. I felt free. That afternoon, I was in my workshop working on the shadow box, oak with dovetail joints, which required precision and patience. I applied wood glue carefully, assembled the pieces, and clamped them to dry. When it was finished, I placed Eleanor's necklace inside and hung it on my living room wall in a place of honor. The gold reflected the soft lamplight. I walked to the window and looked out at the Scottsdale mountains, darkening against the orange sky. Tomorrow was August 28th, 3 years since Eleanor's passing. I had plans for that anniversary. Good plans. Quiet plans. 2 days before Eleanor's anniversary, I sat for the last time in Patricia Morrison's office. She slid a document across her desk. My will, newly finalized. It's official. Everything goes to the 3 charities you specified. Your daughter is expressly excluded, with the explanation that she has already received what you deem her share during your lifetime. I read the relevant section aloud. To my daughter, Jennifer Davis Thompson, I leave nothing, as she has received considerable financial support during my lifetime and has demonstrated through her actions that she values my assets more than our relationship. I simply initialed each page and signed the 3 copies. Patricia and her legal assistant witnessed the application of the notary seal. You are protected. Patricia showed me another document, a medical report from Dr. Sarah Patel, a geriatric specialist. Jennifer tried to petition for guardianship, alleging you were mentally incapable of managing your affairs. I wasn't surprised. I requested a full evaluation. The results? Lucid, physically healthy, fully competent. Her petition was dismissed immediately. I felt vindicated, but not surprised. I always knew I was fine. Jennifer was the one who was broken. Patricia handed me another letter. It was from Carlson, dated yesterday, requesting family mediation to repair relations. I read it once. The desperation was evident. Jennifer needed money. She hoped reconciliation might lead to some inheritance. No, I said simply. I'll draft a response denying the request. The matter is closed. Thank you, Patricia, for everything, I said. She smiled. It was a pleasure, Wilbur. You deserve justice. August 28th arrived, exactly 3 years after Eleanor's death. I woke before dawn in my new apartment. I made coffee in my small kitchen. The familiar ritual felt good. Carefully, I took Eleanor's necklace from the memory box and held it in the palm of my hand. The metal was cold. The heart-shaped locket, perfect. I opened it. The small space where her note had been hidden was now empty, but I remembered every word. I sat in my armchair, the necklace in one hand and her letter from my desk drawer in the other. I reread it. Be strong. Live for yourself. I did it, Eleanor, I whispered into the silent room. I am free. Tears flowed, not of sadness, but of release. She had saved me even after her death, given me permission to choose myself over obligation. You were right about everything. Thank you for not abandoning me. I returned the necklace to its place of honor on the wall, where the morning light illuminated it. That afternoon, I met Dennis Morrison at a Starbucks in Scottsdale, an old friend from my engineering days whom I had lost touch with when Jennifer's family absorbed my life. He arrived first, with gray hair and a warm smile. We shook hands, a gesture that turned into a brief hug. I tried calling you several times over the years, Dennis said as we sipped coffee. It always went to voicemail. I was busy. My daughter and her family moved in with me after Eleanor's death. He understood. Ah, that kind of busy. We talked for 2 hours about Eleanor, about engineering projects from decades past, about Dennis's grandchildren. Finally, I said, I'm living only by choice now. Dennis smiled. Good for you, Wilbur. That wasn't living before. No, but this is. How about a game of chess next Thursday? Prepare to lose. Done. It was the first social engagement I had scheduled for myself in years. That night, I was in my workshop working on an oak box, with dovetail joints which required precision and patience. I had built the shadow box for Eleanor's necklace. This box didn't have a specific purpose yet. Maybe I would give it to Dennis. Maybe I would keep it for my small treasures. It didn't matter. What mattered was that I was making it with my own hands, at my own pace, for my own reasons. I applied glue to the last joint, fitted the pieces carefully, ran my hand over the smooth wood, feeling the grain. The satisfaction was profound. As I worked, I reflected on the path traveled. Eleanor's letter hidden in the necklace, the discovery of her savings, the legal battle, Patricia's expertise, the sale of the house, this new beginning. I didn't feel victorious, but balanced. I cleaned my tools methodically, swept the sawdust, and examined the finished box in the light. The joints were perfect. I placed it on the workbench, satisfied with my work. I turned off the workshop light and walked into the living room. Eleanor's necklace gleamed softly in the evening light coming through the window. The gold caught the last rays of sun, casting tiny reflections on the wall, like stars, like promises kept. I walked up to the window and looked out at the Scottsdale mountains, darkening against the orange sky. My phone remained silent on the counter. My number, my contacts, my control. Tomorrow, I would meet Dennis for chess. Next week, I would finish another project in my workshop. The month after, who knew? The future was uncertain, and for the first time in years, I felt freedom instead of fear. I touched my shirt where the necklace used to be. It was on the wall now, visible, venerated, but no longer armor. I no longer needed armor. I smiled, a genuine, serene smile, and walked to the kitchen to make dinner. Just what I needed. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching the video.